Yeah,
Yep, there you go. Beautiful. Look at you're
I
in.
won't say a word.
And I'm gonna
That's
hold
minor.
off until you're logged in.
Still won't get me there
Of course.
Yeah,
We have a big crowd. I love it.
more pictures. That's what Blaine likes.
that's his favorite.
Yep.
You do, huh? I'm waiting on Device organizing himself here.
Yeah, at least I got
Ready to go. Good morning, everyone. If you'd all join me, if you're able, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Morrison County Board of Commissioners meeting. And we've got part of it's taken care of so far. Our next item of business is going to be our agenda. I'll be looking for any additions or
Motion to
deletions.
approve, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
second.
Got a second. Is there any discussion on our agenda this morning? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Our next item of business is one of our more favorite times of the year. I think we do this 4 times a year, and that's employee recognition. We have a big crowd with us today, and I'm thrilled to see the big crowd, and I'm anticipating not everyone that we're going to call upon is here, but I'm thinking dang near everybody is here, which is very cool. What I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to turn this over to our administrator, to Matt LeBlanc, and let him take it from there.
Thank you,
Matt?
Mr. Chair. Just before we get into our years of service recognition, I'd ask John and Greg to come forward, please, and we'll do a new employee introduction to the county board. Come on up, Greg. This is that part where you have to sing and juggle.
And he didn't know about it.
No, I didn't let him in on anything.
Excellent.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning. Good morning, John.
Morning.
Greg.
Like to introduce Greg Feldbaum. He is our new facilities man. He was a long life resident of Morrison County, was a dairy farmer in the western part of the county. Some of you know Greg. He's, likes the outdoors and he come from St. Cloud State where he's held a similar position, so I think he'll be a good fit.
Excellent.
Awesome. Welcome aboard, Greg.
Welcome aboard, Greg. This is your time, as Matt said, if you want to juggle or if you want to tell a joke or anything, you're on.
I'm just happy I got the job and can work for the county. I've got my son works here, my uncle worked here for probably 40 years, so.
Okay. Wonderful.
Put 40.
Well, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Big John.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and without further ado, we'll now move into our years of service or recognition portion of today's program, or I should say board session. So gentlemen, as you know, and as the chair stated, one of our favorite things to do is recognize our employees. And before I get into that, so the way we'll do this is we'll call out by years of service starting at 5 and I believe ending at 35. As each group is assembled, we'll get a photo by that year category, and then at the end, we'll get a group photo with everybody who was recognized today and received their certificate for years of service. So I'll help you through that as we go. But lots of pictures today, so don't leave until we're done. But our years of service program is part of our employee recognition. We do this quarterly. This quarter, we are recognizing 21 employees. And as the chair stated, not all were able to attend. As you know, we have 24/7 operations, and sometimes it just doesn't allow for folks to be here. But they had over 360 years of service to Morrison County. So on average, that's more than 17 years, but you'll see that spans from 5 to 35. So again, as the chair stated, thank you everybody for being here. Our employees are the heart and soul of our organization. Without them, we would be hallowed walls. We wouldn't be providing the services that we do for our residents. I'm fortunate to have the staff that we do. They're exceptional. They're well beyond average, and it doesn't take long for me to be at one of these AMC functions just to realize how fortunate we are. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your commitment to Morrison County. What makes today special is the word commitment. And again, 5 to 35. That continuity and that level of expertise is what allows us to do what we do. And that is to provide exceptional service to the residents of Morrison County. It's just really inspiring, and I get taken back every time I go through this list with Tabitha as we prepare for today, and I'm in awe. As we all know, we just had an employee leave after 46 years. You're all on your way, and some are closer than others. But I appreciate what you do each and every day, and thank you for that. I'm a little bit out of order, but on another admin note, everybody being recognized today will receive a certificate of appreciation. You'll also receive either chamber bucks or a piece of Morrison County apparel. That's on the table. That is also part of our program, as well as a slight recognition outside of there. So thank you for that. So without further ado, we'll get started. Oh, can I turn it on? Here we go. 5 years. Laura Welly. And I'll just have you go right on up, okay? Thank you. Congratulations. Appreciate it. And Sarah Nelson. Okay. How about Carly? I didn't see Carly Lindquist. Okay, Carly Lindquist also with 5 years. Steve Costahorns. Did I get close? Okay. Congratulations. Thanks, Steve. And that's our 5-year recipients.
Thanks, Steve.
Congratulations. So we need to center these two.
All right, show your certificates off. Then we know who's getting recognized. Do we need to move those other chairs, Tabitha?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chairs are moved.
thank you. Got it.
All right, one more hand for our 5-year recipients. Oh, I was going to ask that. Don't go too far. We'll get you back up at the end. For our 10-year recipient, Michelle Adams. Congratulations. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. Thanks. Renee Hirschfeld. Thanks, Renee. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Maggie Peterson. Congrats, Maggie. Nice job. Appreciate it. I didn't see Sarah. Sarah Call. Okay. Ashley Effinger. There she comes. Always smiling. You're not in costume today.
I'm not. Thank you very much.
Someone. Sarah Gilson. Congrats, Sarah. Thank you. And Erica Peterson. All right. And that is our 10-year recipients. A little higher with the certificate, Renee. There you
There you
go.
go.
All right, one more hand for our 10-year. And with 15 years of service, Sherry Cheetah. Mary Murphy. Congrats, Mary. Thank you. And this is who we have to represent our 15-year recipients.
All right. Mary gets to do it solo.
That's it.
Outstanding. Way to go. Congratulations.
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen, our turn. Get together here. Okay.
The group gets smaller. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. And I did not see Jody Winsberg, okay? Come back here. I know her. Jenny Sanders, 25 years. Thanks, Jenny. Appreciate it. Thank you for your leadership. And our county attorney, Brian Mittendorf. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for your leadership. I appreciate it. These are our 25-year recipients.
Congratulations. Here he is.
Congratulations, Brett. Okay, gotta squeeze again, guys.
Mike, on this side of the go.
Mike, come on. You got more. Get up here.
There you go. Okay.
And smile.
All right, one more hand for 25. Thank you. And our 30-year representative, Tom Swenson, come on up. You got some super fans. That's right.
Thank you, Tom. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Good job.
That's it.
Front center.
There he is.
Step that way. There
All
you
right.
go. There we go.
Look at that.
Can't take him anywhere.
Got it.
Perfect.
All right, let's hear it for Tom. And 4 individuals representing 140 years of service. Jody Wetzel. Del Rey. Thank you. Congratulations. Del Rey LeBlanc. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Donna Schultz.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Congratulations. Did I give? Let me see. I might have messed this up. Did somebody get Shayla's? Okay, there we go. I got so excited. Shayla Strzok. Congrats. Thank you. Thank you.
And here comes Shayla. Yeah, right one.
Thank you.
You guys look perfect. Don't move.
Don't be shy, Brianna. You guys want to, hold on, Hope's coming. Oh, she's leaving. Not to point out, but Hope's leaving. Okay, everybody else that received recognition, come on up, please. Let's get the board seated, and then we'll fill in everybody else behind you. You cannot. Oh, where's your certificate? That's all right. We'll put it away. We'll hide them. Okay.
Curly's out.
Maybe we should come back this way.
All right. If you can't see the person in front of you,
Come on, we can leave 2 lines. Come on, nobody's gonna bite.
All right, there we go.
Mary, you gotta
Keep sliding down.
Or you can
Thanks, Jody.
I can be sure. All right, should I?
That's a hard task.
Okay, Tabitha's in charge.
The front row's gotta take a full step, like on the
Front
other
row.
side of the person behind you.
that starts with Ashley.
Do I go?
Donna, can you stand in between Jody and Ashley in the back? In the front row.
That's why I let them take care of it. This is the hardest part of the job right here.
You got it.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, 360 years of service. Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't forget to grab your chamber bucks or apparel on your way out. Awesome. See you later.
Oh, you'd like to hear that.
Okay.
Oh, hi, see you. I know. Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
may, I got so excited. Paige, can you come up, please?
Uh-oh.
And Cindy.
And Paige, you're not gonna have to come up all by yourself. Obviously, you've got support coming with you.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
I would like to introduce Paige Wetzel. Good morning. Paige has taken a position in our family home visiting and WIC department. She comes to us with some good nursing experience in surgical and those kinds of things, and she is taken off and staying super busy, and we're excited to have her here. We're hoping that she'll be back in 35 years to be recognized
Yeah.
like
Gonna
her
be.
mom today.
No doubt about it.
Welcome aboard, Paige.
Welcome aboard. Good morning, Paige. I have to tell a quick little story. I had a little conversation with Paige earlier, like a few days back already. And I did not tell her that she was gonna have to do jumping jacks or anything like that. But she said, "Don't worry, Jeff. I know most everybody anyway, so it's gonna be okay." And welcome aboard. I'm thrilled that you're here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Thanks,
Thank you,
Paige.
Cindy. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, that concludes our employee recognition.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
Matt.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move right along with our agenda. The next item of business is going to be number 5 on our agenda. It's going to be approval of our consent agenda. Once again, I'll look to the board. I'll ask anyone if they have anything that they would like to have pulled from the agenda for further discussion. If not, I would look for a
to approve,
motion.
Mr. Chair.
Got a motion on the table? Look for a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Gentlemen, this will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Casper.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Blaine.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
And myself, Commissioner Jelinski, is an aye vote. That motion carries, and that takes care of our consent agenda. Our next item of business is going to be land services. I will turn to Miss Amy. And Miss Amy, when you come forward, if you would please introduce yourself and let us know what you're here for, and we'll go from there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Amy.
I'm Amy Kowalczyk. I'm the Land Services Director, and I have several items for you today. And the first one is to hear just an update from Troy Hoekstra on the progress of the Autumn Hills project. So I'm going to invite
Perfect.
Troy up,
Perfect.
if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
And as you know, this was a project that was approved about 2 years ago regarding what was then called Autumn Antlers.
Yep.
Now it is being called Autumn Hills, and
Okay.
it is a treatment facility. And Troy is here to just update on where things are at with that facility. So I'm going to shut up and let Troy take it away.
Perfect.
Keep going if you want.
Perfect. Troy, welcome aboard. I haven't seen you in obviously about a year or so, I think. The board has not seen you. We've not talked a great deal about you on the side in between times, but we're glad to have you here, so please, carry on.
I thought I would just stay incognito with the process we went through. I probably wore everybody out a little bit. My eyesight's so good, I gotta take my glasses off here. I've got some notes here, but I'll try to go through this and really just field questions that you may have.
Sure.
You're right, it's been a while since we were here, and since that last meeting, we got out of the deer business. We sold all of our deer and our red stag and our elk and shipped them off to parts unknown. We had a pretty substantial auction at the property, sold everything that was deer related. Anything from our mounts to our feeders to you name it. We had over 1,000 bidders from all over the world, which was pretty amazing. It was utter chaos the day they came to pick everything up and literally destroyed the place just about. But it was good to see it all go, so I was ready to turn the page. Since that time also, if you had ever been by there, we had numerous pens where we used to keep animals of various types, but we've torn all that down and all that property is now tillable ground.
Oh.
And this year was farmed as corn. So if you were to drive by there today, you would probably have no knowledge that there had ever been a farm or a deer farm or hunting operation on that property. It's every time I drive there, I'm having flashbacks and I forget that we've kind of blown everything up. So we followed through on all those things, which I think was important to turn it back to more ag-based business. So now relative to the existing operation, we're not open yet. We've had a couple delays. They're always fun. Those delays really kind of fell into two buckets. One of them was a low interest rate federal finance program that was part of our finance package that delayed us about 4 months. Kind of no fault of our own, but it was just something that got tied up somewhere on Capitol Hill, as we understand it, and wasn't able to trickle to us as quickly as we would have liked to have seen that. Second major delay, which was probably the most substantial, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but initially the state of Minnesota had ruled that our property was going to be under the oversight of us. Inspections other than electrical and plumbing were not going to happen. I mean, basically, we were going to have to build to the state code, and off we went, which is often the case when you're in some of the rural areas of numerous counties in this state. So we submitted all of our paperwork to the state. That was the opinion, and we set sail. So it was about a year ago that the state plumbing inspector was there, looking at all of our underground and approved everything, decided to call the head of the building inspections at the state of Minnesota and said, I know what we've ruled, but I think you should come and look at this. So he came the very next day and they changed their ruling that they now are going to have inspection oversight over the project. So what does that mean? Why would that delay us? Well, we go from having our subcontractors like the plumber and the heating guy, draw your systems, to now needing engineered drawings. So engineered HVAC drawings, engineered electrical drawings, and then at that time and with what we have going on in our world, scramble to try to find some engineering firm who will drop everything and just start drawing those for you. So that took 2 months just to find a company to do it, 4 months to do the drawings, rebid the whole project, lost multiple subcontractors because now you're not in their schedule, or reshuffle the deck to get them back in schedule. So we've been through all of that, and right now we are substantially under construction. There is framing happening, trusses being set. We expect to be open and operational early spring, April, maybe March if things come together. We've invested quite a bit of our own money to keep that thing moving, because without these things, lenders won't release funding, so we've stayed committed to the cause by digging a little deeper in our pockets, and that's okay. So as we sit here today, we are where we wanted to be about 10 months ago, minus a little bit of our hard-earned savings. So relative to Ascension and their involvement in our project, they are still not only an investor partner of ours, but still going to manage the property. And if you remember, they had some people that presented about how this thing would run and what it was going to be and what it was not going to be, and those things are all still the same. They haven't had a ton of interaction with the state of Minnesota because there really hadn't been a reason to kind of fire that up. But that will be changing here in the next couple weeks. And you may be seeing us kind of out there in advertisements as we start to gather employees and that sort of thing. If you recall, we expect 45 full-time equivalent jobs there, and approximately $2 million in annual payroll to be generated. And just a reminder, this is not a secure facility. People coming here for treatment and addiction issues are folks who are not incarcerated and choosing us as an option or in any sort of trouble. These are our friends, our neighbors, our relatives who are most likely working a job and functioning with this issue and have the typical commercial insurance we all would have, Medica, Blue Cross Blue Shield, that sort of thing. And that's the clientele that this location will serve. Yeah, I think that covers everything. So that is pretty much it for what I had. If you have any questions for me, I'll do my best to answer.
And Troy, I think that you probably pretty much did bring us totally up to date. Obviously, you're 10 months behind, and I get that. That's, maybe one could say it's government at its finest. I don't know if it is or not, but it is what it is.
Right.
And you've adapted, you've overcome, you are where you are. Did I understand you correctly that your belief is, and loose, I'm okay with that, is that March, April, we're gonna see, or you're gonna see your first clients at the operation? Or are you of the belief that March, April, you might be fully staffed and ready to bring in clients?
March, April, we would probably be fully staffed and fully constructed. I mean, to try to make up for lost time,
Yep.
I have a small army on that site right now. We have 15, 20 framers there today. We're setting trusses while we speak.
Yep.
And that building that they're putting trusses on didn't exist 10 days ago. So that's the pace we're going. Now, we'll have to see on the detox building, which is the smaller building we talked about, there's sort of a process there with being admitted there, being assessed, and then moving into a residential building. And that's the building actually that the state chose to have oversight on. So it's not any of the other buildings, they just want to have oversight over that one building. So we have a 6,500 square foot building that is the kind of our log jam, but we're through that whole process, permits paid for, and ready to rock and roll.
Very good. I'll turn to the board for any comments, questions, concerns. Commissioner Wincher.
You brought up, our chair brought up the staffing. I can't remember back then that how many employees that you were planning having, and then the qualifications, do you have a website that these people can go? Because I know that was a thing that I really liked, is because of the fact that you would be hiring people from this area and that sort. So that's one question, and I'll think of the other one. I can't remember what it was.
I'm not the only one who is losing low memory
Yeah,
these
there you
days.
go.
That's the other thing that's happened in the last year and a half, other than gaining 10 pounds. But no, Ascension will be aggressively marketing the property in pursuit for staffing. We all understand the challenges of hiring in today's environment. We will not be immune from that. So you'll see that out there. Their website will be published. As far as the positions, we will have a medical director who does need to be a doctor. Typically, that is a position that is shared with other facilities or other organizations, like maybe a CentraCare. From there, you're gonna have 4 to 6 RNs of various types, LPNs, and then from that perspective, we get into counselors and insurance processing. You know, it's everything you can imagine. We'll need cooks, we'll need cleaners, we'll need a maintenance person, we will need all of the medical expertise, a total of roughly 45 full-time equivalent.
Thank you. I'll yield to you.
Excellent. Anything for the commissioner?
Got a comment. I just want to say thank you for being here today, and I look forward to your opening. I know you're 10 months behind, and that's unfortunate that government held you up for 10 months, and probably not only held you up, but probably cost you twice as much to get the same thing done. But I wish you all the best, and I'm glad you're still continuing moving forward.
Commissioner Blaine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple of questions, Troy. And you probably, or you may not be aware, so there's always been some concern by residents within the neighborhood. What's going on, what's happening with this. I'm sure some of that's driven by the fact that of what you just told us, delays. I think there's probably a lot of neighbors there thinking something should have happened by now. I'm sure that, as you say, if we drove by there right now and you see 20 guys out there throwing trusses up and sheeting buildings and things like that, that question would probably get answered. Some of those residents have reached out to me in recent weeks and months with questions and concerns to what's happening, what's not happening there. You've addressed the issue with staffing, and so I understand this correctly. Ascension will take the lead on that. It's not going to be Troy Huckstrap interviewing job candidates. They, as your partner, will be executing that. One of the things with the building, and you said with the changes with the state of Minnesota, they show up on site and all of a sudden change the rules of the game kind of midstream. Surprise, surprise. Of course, that's never happened in this world before. But my question is, did they leave you with a sense of security about what will happen going forward as far as oversight of the construction of buildings on this property? Will the state still exercise jurisdiction over the construction of these buildings, everything from quality of construction to security to fire protection, all of these things? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely. All of those things, we already had in place, so because of the occupancy, we already knew that, we had to sprinkle the buildings. We had a full system that's being installed by Summit Fire. I think our total out-of-pocket for that whole system is $450,000. So the state fire marshal was already involved in kind of that life safety portion. And in terms of the building itself, or the buildings, we had hired DJR Architecture out of Minneapolis, big architectural firm that's done a ton of medical, to design those. My background prior to being involved in Autumn Antlers, I've been in the development business 25 years. We developed $150 million worth of Marriott, Holiday Inns, you name it. So doing a single-story stick frame on a slab of concrete is not getting over our skis. So relative to the architect, we had structural engineers involved already, Voight and Associates, another very reputable firm out of the cities. So all those things were already in place. So when the state came in, their concern, I don't want to say their defense, but their concern with that detox building was sort of the medical intensity of what could potentially be happening there with dispensing medications and the need for people to take care of themselves. And their involvement really comes down to one question that they ask us and they ask themselves, and that is, are the people in that building capable of self-preservation in the event of an emergency? So let's say there was a fire. Are people in that building who have been there 1 minute or 5 days, are they all capable of self-preservation in terms of taking care of themselves? And the initial ruling on all those things, and this is just in terms of inspections, once they get done inspecting the construction, we're not going to have any more or any less inspections than we would have had prior. So this is really just a construction inspection question, but that triggers so many more things that fall down the line that they really just want you to submit. So we didn't change our fire plan because Summit was doing that. They proved it. We didn't change our building plans. We had a good architect. We just had to submit them, pay a $14,000 fee. We didn't change even our HVAC or our electrical. Those plans were being done by very capable, reputable subcontractors. And in fact, we had already purchased all of our HVAC equipment. So the engineers that worked on that portion took the design build drawings from our plumber and our electrician, and they were so good, they just converted them. So I didn't have to buy any more or any less equipment, but I did have to spend $40,000 on drawings I didn't need. So we were pretty frustrated by that. The real dagger isn't necessarily the extra $150,000 you spend in all of these plans and applications. It's losing the subcontractors and losing continuity of company X is gonna frame, company Y is coming in to do electrical, you know, your waterfall effect.
The construction process.
Yeah, and I didn't have any doubt that, my sense was some of my neighbors were at home thinking that the deal was dead and were probably happy. And I thought, well, at least there's one silver lining. We've delayed the inevitable for some that weren't in support of it. But it is going and as planned, just you get some curveballs and you do your best to deal with them.
And so, Mr. Chair, if I may, I don't know if I would caution you not to maybe jump to that conclusion with the neighbors. I mean, you grew up in rural Minnesota, too, and you understand that's kind of our DNA in Minnesota. Everybody likes to know what everybody else is doing around them, kind of thing, too. And when the closer it becomes to your property, to your neighborhood or whatever, the more questions that seem to get asked. I've been trying to help quell the lack of fact being a part of conversations. We're not going to engage in rumors or speculation or innuendo, and that's why I think it's valuable that you're here. And a lot of these neighbors have been made aware that you were here today, and will have the opportunity to view this, and I encourage them to reach out to you too, as a neighbor in the neighborhood. If they've got questions, ask the source and get the answer. But through all this, there's two other things that I wanted to ask you about. And we talked about oversight of the building there. I wanted to reiterate the question of oversight by the Department of Health and Human Services on a state level, and/or because you receive federal funding, does that allow the window to open for the federal government to come in and say, we want to peek at what's going on at this location in Parker Township, Minnesota, out there too? Has there been changes to that, or can you reaffirm to us the State Department of Human Services role in the operation of your business going forward?
Yeah, relative to the state, I'm not the expert on that. I'd probably have to have Ascension comment on what their connectivity is. I know they need permitting and approvals to run a facility like this. As far as the federal side, that's just a finance program that involves our lender, so it's not, I don't see any additional scrutiny or
Oversight?
none of that. No, it'd be, I would compare it to sort of getting an SBA loan.
Okay.
It doesn't really open you up to any other sort of scrutiny. It's just a federal avenue to access some better debt, which is what we did. And, on the state side, I can't speak to that. I'm not aware of anything.
So my final question, Mr. Chair, if I may, when going back almost 2 years now since we had the public hearing and the presentation and the permit approval on that four-year project, one of the parts of this, and this is one that people question and want to make sure, is this the same? in my notes preparing for this morning, I went back and looked, and you had three, in that treatment process, there were basically three phases or three steps. I wrote another word and I can't remember it now, but kind of three sections of that. That first section was detoxification, and when you were here 2 years ago, you talked about that would take place with individuals on a facility I wrote on the Iron Range. And then the second phase of this treatment process would take place at Autumn Hills, and the third phase would be reintegration into back into society through, let's say, halfway houses or other facilities, means, or maybe reintegrating it back home or whatever. Has that perspective with the business changed? Will there be detoxification that takes place at Autumn Hills that was not part of that initial discussion?
I don't recall that it wasn't part of that. I mean, the detox was a part of our project there, I think, from the beginning. If I somehow miscommunicated, I think it was pretty clearly communicated by the people from Ascension as to what the steps were. The Hibbing project is on hold while we're waiting to get this done. So this site does have a detox building. It has a residential, and then of course people will exit and reintegrate. So direct to your point, yes.
Because initially, I think that was a concern that that first step of detoxification would have took place at Hibbing. That's not going to take place there now. So patients would come direct to Autumn Hills?
Yeah, I'd have to have Ascension talk to you about what the process is, but we do have a detox building for that purpose at our property. And then from there, they'll go to the residential. I guess that's all I can say.
Okay.
I'm surprised that there's a perception it was something other. I think we mentioned that Hibbing project maybe is a side, that there was maybe another sister property.
And I think the interpretation was when residents or patients would be at Autumn Hills, that is part of that detoxification treatment and process. But I think, and how I had in my notes was that there was a first step, and that was going to take place at another facility, and that would take X amount of time, and then those patients would then come to Autumn Hills to continue that treatment process. And so, and I think that was a concern by some of the residents there, that there was a step in place prior to patients coming to Autumn Hills there too. But having obviously having a detox facility there and in construction here now, facilitates that process to take place there here too. So, Mr. Chair, I think for now, that's all I have. Thank you, Troy.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Casper, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple simple things. First off, I got in this process very late, as you well know, and I appreciate your stick-to-itiveness. This has been a rough road for you, kind of like crawling over a rock pile without knee pads. But the other thing I was gonna ask you, Troy, could you tell me the location exactly where this is?
Yeah, I always say we're 3 miles straight north of the 12-mile.
Oh, okay.
So if you know where 12 miles
I
is
do.
on Highway 27, where you go to that next corner where there's the tall radio tower, hang a right, we're 3 miles
Oh, very good,
up on 180th.
very good. Thank you. That's all I
I'd
have.
like to comment too that I know many of my neighbors, I agree with Commissioner Blake there. They're all good people. And I grew up in the middle of nowhere by Raymond, Minnesota, population 500. My graduating class was 22. I understand that change can be difficult, and we will commit to running the same responsible, well-managed facility that we committed to when we got these approvals.
Troy, thank you. Very good. I appreciate you coming here once a year. I certainly would never tell you to not come here more often. You've got a business to run. I don't think you need to come here constantly, but I do appreciate the effect and the effort that you make through Amy's direction, I'm sure, has a lot to do with it, but to come here and give us an update as to what's going on, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Anything further from the board? Oh, here we go.
I remember my other question. Anyway, again, I appreciate, all the information that you gave 2 years ago. I think you did a tremendous job of explaining everything. My other question is, I'm gonna bring up the staff again that you plan on hiring. Are you past all these licensing? I know that's gonna be for each, for the taxation, for all of them. Do you have all that in place yet, or does it still have to?
We don't have physical possession, but those applications are in process, and I can tell you that Ascension is managing and a part of a group that's managing multiple facilities in this state already. And so they know all the people and the players, and it's a little bit, from what I understand, that process, I can only relate it to getting a building permit. If you give your plans and you get your permit. It isn't really a vote, and it's kind of the same thing with these licensures. You submit this, that, and the other. They're operating at a national level, are well-known, know the people and the organizations by name, and once these things get submitted, you're really not gonna get, now that I'm remembering, you're not gonna get those final permits until we get a certificate of occupancy. So the state's gotta come in and inspect and say, yeah, this is safe for people.
Yep.
And at that point, I think, is when the final operating permits, if you want to call them that, are granted.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
One more time, anything from the board? Anything further from the board? Hearing nothing, thank you very, very kindly. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, Troy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Troy.
Troy.
Thank you for coming.
Miss Amy, what do you have besides that?
Okay, the next thing I have is to consider the conditional use permit for BS Storage, also known as Ben Schultz, to expand the existing storage business by adding a 6th building. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 4 conditions. Those conditions are: no outdoor storage shall occur on site except up to 4 personal operable licensed vehicles may be stored outdoors. 2, prior to permit issuance, the property owner shall install at least 4 posts on the northwest right-of-way line to keep traffic out of the state highway right-of-way. 3, prior to permit issuance, the storage container shall be removed from the property. And 4, prior to permit issuance, the property owner shall submit a stormwater plan for review and approval by the Land Services Department.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we've got a
Second.
motion. We got a motion and a second. Discussion. Commissioner Wincher.
Thank you. Again, I was at the planning session. He originally had 5 permits, I believe, to put, if I can recall.
Correct.
To put up building, he put up the 6th one, he had to come back. I know the highway department approved his right-of-way, providing he stays off the right-of-way. That's the question I have, and it's still, even when the planning commission was talking about it, it's the right-of-way, and they put up some post or some darn thing, they approved that one. He's given himself 20 feet to make turns on that, and again, I'm just looking, if you have a trailer or something like that, there's no way that he can make those corners and that stuff without getting on the right-of-way of the highway department. And then the consequences that maybe the county, if we approve it, Or do we have to do something that, I don't know, I'm just thinking that that's gonna be a challenge. And maybe if you have some input on it, I'd really appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, this was discussed at length on two fronts. Because if you recall, prior to this applicant coming for this permit, the setback that is required by the county is 40 feet from the right-of-way. And the applicant was proposing to be 20 feet from the road right-of-way with the building. And so that needed a variance before that could come before the Planning Commission for a conditional use permit. So that was discussed at length during the variance hearing, was because there was a letter of support from MnDOT saying we don't have any issue with this building being 20 feet from our road right-of-way. The question the Board of Adjustment had at that time was, yes, but do they understand that there will be traffic moving around that building? And that really was a question that was left unanswered at the variance hearing. There was also discussion about the size of the building and whether it needed to be that big or if there was more buffer that was needed in between because of the way the traffic was routed. So the Board of Adjustment essentially tasked, knowing that this would come for a conditional use permit, then tasked the applicant to say, you need to lay this out. You need to be able to show that that vehicles will not go into the road right-of-way as they're maneuvering past this end building. I also did clarify with MnDOT what their intention was of that letter, and they said at no time can anything obstruct or be within their right-of-way. So I don't think that that letter had taken into consideration maybe the traffic pattern there. So as long as nothing's in their right-of-way, they're fine. But they don't want anything in the right-of-way. So of course at the Planning Commission, then that was certainly a point of discussion with the applicant, and the applicant had laid everything out in the field and had taken pictures and shown pictures. So the question is, can a vehicle with 20 feet of room make its way around that? And I would say yes, but if it's a truck and trailer or if it's a big camping unit, maybe not. I don't, to navigate that corner. So essentially what the Planning Commission said was, the 20 feet is a hard stop. You cannot allow anything in the road right-of-way, and you're going to put up markers to make sure that that doesn't happen. Whether or not that's going to be problematic for people and what they move around, I would hope the applicant had considered that, because he's got 5 other buildings and has seen what people are pulling. But I don't know that I can necessarily answer that, except for there is 20 feet of room.
And if my point when I'm going, he also has a building on there that's non-compliance.
Yes.
And when you bring up that, can you count on this applicant? Well, why didn't he remove that one before he even did? That one would again at the Planning Commission, they said, it's kind of like he didn't come too prepared, in my opinion, for this, getting this permit. And I'm just thinking, if you're gonna go that close to a building, you gotta at least stay away from the 3 to 5 feet. So then I would give them, 12 to 15 feet. I just see that being a problem. Would it be possible, or what would be to say if we tell them that, in my opinion, if you would downsize this, or we have to come back for a different permit? Because I just don't want the highway department to say, hey, I told you the stop was 20 feet, and now you have passed the permit to allow him to do that.
Yes. I would say you could put a condition on the maximum size of the building that is put in there. He does have a variance to have that building up to 20 feet from, but however, if you put a condition on here that it be smaller, I would assume he'd be making up that room on the east side, I would think. Is the applicant here? I don't think so. I was just gonna check to see if he's here. So I would say that would be really what would have to happen, is that building would need to be smaller, because that is, for the size of building that he's proposing, that's what brings it to that 20 feet from the road right of way.
I guess I'll leave it to maybe anybody else has anything.
Well, on with that same discussion, and I appreciate it, because I also have written down here the container that I just really never understood from the very start, that we go through all these loops or hoops, and we follow these directions, we pay for permits, we get permits, and then we just decide out of the whatever blue, doesn't matter what blue it is, I'm just gonna place a storage container here, and obviously, you're placing a storage container because you're storing things in it. Knowing full well, you can't have that storage container. Okay, well, yeah, we'll get rid of it whenever we start, and that kind of was unclear to me. That being said, to just touch on what Commissioner Wincher spoke about, going around that building and staying off of the road right-of-way, absolutely. Based upon everything that we're talking about, he can do that. He can turn around there with the vehicle, not a problem. Now we're going to pull a 20-foot trailer, maybe we're gonna pull a 30-foot trailer, and never be able to make the curve at all. And absolutely knowingly, he's going into the road right away. It's the only way it's gonna work. Now, he's not gonna park it in the road right away, but he's going to have to use the road right away. And what did we just hear the state say? Under no circumstances do they want anything in the road right away. So I just have to tell you, I heard what you said, and I've thought the same thing. But the other piece that worked on me the most of anything, everybody is supposedly supposed to follow our rules that we have. And again, they come before us. This storage container just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm not necessarily making any kind of a issue out of it. The planning committee said that it has to go, and evidently it will go sooner than later. Whether it's sooner or whether it's later, we still have to have the storage building police watching that, which I know we don't have storage building police. So what's stopping him from tomorrow putting one in the back that we don't see?
Yeah, it would be a violation of the land use control ordinance, and so we'd handle it on a violation standpoint.
Absolutely, and I know that. But first of all, those violation police have to bring it to our attention, and until they do, it's there. And I get that, and we can go round and round about that. Anything further from the board? Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll just say in respect to the Planning Commission, the concerns with the two issues that you and Commissioner Wincher raised were also vetted at that Planning Commission meeting and are directed upon in number 2 and number 3 in the conditions listed in front of us here. And when I made the motion to approve, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, my intent was that we'd approve this with those 4 conditions on there. It is because of those 4 conditions that I'm comfortable granting this permit. I think the applicant got educated to a greater degree at that hearing, that, and he acknowledged that that is his storage container, and he put it there, whether or not he did it with wrongful malice. I'm not gonna get into that, but said, okay, we'll 86 the storage container there. He was not prepared, I guess, I would acknowledge, for planning some type of barrier to keep the clients from being on road right-of-way. That solution came from the planning commission to install, pipes as barriers. And I think, that will suffice to keep the public off, if you space those, we're not putting, steel fence posts in there that people can drive over. We're putting, these will be like bollard posts in there to protect the right-of-way. But, I think Mr. Schultz will find out too that with a limited access there around that corner, that somebody's gonna come in there with a 1-ton truck and a 36-foot trailer, they're not gonna make it around the corner. So if they gotta put something in a storage unit, they're gonna be carrying it from the entrance part of the property. And he's willing to accept that limitation to his clients. On these buildings, there is also access to the buildings from the south side of the building. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how he's got them set up, where he's got the units back to back, so, he's got
Is there a door to the south?
two. I'm not positive if the existing ones do.
Okay, so, which is a point that's probably immaterial with this. I'm comfortable that with these conditions in place in land services, as it's stated here, prior to permit issuance. So we're not going to give him a permit until we see those posts in the ground, and we have to be comfortable that will keep people from driving where they're not supposed to drive, which is in road right of way. And 20 feet is a generous amount for pulling a trailer and making a corner. Too. I mean, you'd have to start getting into a pretty good sized trailer coming in there to where that starts getting tight to make that corner. So I'm comfortable with that, but it does place some oversight by staff, and I have confidence in staff that they will follow the conditions on here, and if the storage container's still there, there won't be a permit crossing the counter. If those posts aren't there and will meet spec to keep people out of the property, there won't be a permit going across the counter.
Commissioner Blaine, may I ask, are you prepared at all to modify number 2? Because nowhere in number 2 does it say, I can't put in steel fence posts. Nowhere in number 2 does it say I can't put stakes. Excuse me, it says posts. Your interpretation of a post, my interpretation of a post, and the congregation's interpretation of a post could vary from an inch in diameter to 6 inches in diameter, could vary from a steel round 8-inch, 10-inch post to a steel T fence post. It does not indicate to me that we have anything here other than at least 4, quote, posts, unquote. Are you prepared to come up with a definition, thank you, of what kind of post?
And Mr. Chair, I'd be amenable to further definition of what a post would be there. I was there at this meeting in person here, and I recollect the chair of the planning commission. I thought he had stated You know, we're not talking about putting steel fence posts in there, we're talking about putting, you know, pipes in the ground. So I guess, Mr. Chair, I kind of maybe jumped to the assumption this would be more along the line of what we call bollard posts that protect property, and you see them around municipalities to protect property from everything from garbage trucks bumping into buildings or things like that. If you know, if that's what the rest of the board would find greatest comfort with, I'm certainly amenable to saying these should be, you know, 4-inch bollard pipes or 6-inch bollard pipes or whatever would be sufficient there. I think Mr. Chair, one of the other points with this that I also thought was important, and it was an important point brought up at the Planning Commission, that these be you know, sprayed or identified, you know, so they're visible, not just to people driving, clients driving onto the property there, but maybe they're sprayed, you know, orange, blaze orange or something, so that snowmobilers, you know, we got a zillion people flying around with four-wheelers around there, that somebody doesn't not see these, to make sure that they're visible. If we're going to go to that degree, maybe we need to be that specific.
Specifically, I'm simply making the point of it does not state what a post is in our condition. Specifically does not say it in a condition. Doesn't matter what we have for a discussion here. It's specifically the condition is as it is right now. And I will agree with you as we further discuss, painted a bright orange color, and I would even add, let's put some reflective tape of some kind onto that thing. But I personally think that we need to identify what we're talking about, at least 4 posts. What's a post? And I mean that in respect to everybody.
No,
I know you know what a post is, but I also know that I know what a post is. And there's many definitions of a post, is all I'm trying to say.
Well, we're not gonna, so let's not, we're gonna try our best to not be dumb as posts.
There we go.
And so, Mr. Chair, to help expedite this, I'm going to ask that we restate condition number 2 to say, prior to permit issuance, the property owner shall install at least 4 bollard-type posts on the northwest right-of-way line to keep traffic out of state right-of-way, and that these posts would be identifiable with reflective tape and or bright orange paint.
And perhaps that these posts are at a minimum of 6 inches in diameter? Is that fair? I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. I'm asking.
I'd say 4
Okay.
would be probably sufficient. I think the spacing, in some of this, I think our staff at Land Services can work with staff on, you know, you want the posts, and this was discussed at the Planning Commission meeting, you want the posts close enough together so that somebody can't drive in between them.
That's right.
You know, and weave around them or things like that. I really don't want to get into micromanaging the work of the Land Services Department from behind the county board table here, but I think staff has served this board well in executing oversight on conditions that are placed on applications out there. So to that, Mr. Chair, if I may, I would look to Amy and say, with that restatement, and I'm kind of shifting some of this burden onto you and your staff. Are you uncomfortable with that at all?
Mr. Chair? Not at all. In fact, I appreciate the clarification to the condition.
And you're confident staff will have the ability to work with this applicant?
Yes.
To keep people out of the right of way there. I also would think that the county would not be at risk or liability if there was someone who chose to drive around the posts and drive through the thing. That's not our problem. That's that individual's problem and that applicant's problem.
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
on that note, just for consideration, would the board consider the language to say that these posts would match MnDOT right-of-way posts? So we follow those same safety requirements, we follow the same standard that MnDOT applies, and then there's a reference, a point of reference that doesn't get into depth of bollards and safety concerns, and that there is some shear off consideration or safety consideration, but I inject that after much discussion, but there is a standard out there established by MnDOT for your consideration.
Fantastic. I would be amenable to that.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Do you know what that MnDOT standard is so I can cite it?
Well, our public engineer does.
Okay.
Our public works engineer.
So I can obtain that from him?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm gonna be asking him for what the MnDOT right-of-way post standard is? Is that what I'm gonna be asking him?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the bottom line to it all is that the gentleman building this property, and as far as a turnaround is concerned, doesn't really matter what my personal feelings are, if it's big enough or not. Because if it's not big enough for me to turn around in, then I guess that I have a problem to deal with the guy that I'm renting this property from. That's another decision that has to be made at that point in time. I agree that, and I believe that Land Services will also have this discussion, understanding that this is your property, this is your footprint that you've got. Do you really think that you have enough room here, or should you, I'm not telling the guy how to build a property, that's not my business. Should it be 10 feet shorter? Should it be 20 feet shorter? That's
That's an operational decision
just
that he'll need to make.
Absolutely, and a discussion, but at the end of the day, the permit says this is what you have to do, and if you're not doing it, once there's a complaint filed with Land Services, then this all comes back again, and guess what? If you have to tear the building down, which God forbid, but if you do, that's part of the game. I mean, and it's how it is, so.
Well, or if.
I'm just saying.
Or if after the third time somebody's kissed the corner of the building because it's too tight for their 40-foot trailer with dragging a camper behind it around the corner there, maybe magically one day the building ends up being 8 feet shorter on that end.
Absolutely.
And Mr.
But I'll
Chair-
leave that to the applicant.
Absolutely.
And
Matt?
for Amy, for your reference, MnDOT MUTCD, which is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. The Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices is what outlines that standard.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Law. That's awesome. We all got educated.
Perfect. Do we have any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a hard time approving this permit. And again, when, respect to Commissioner Blaine, you have a truck that's, most of them are 18 feet long. I have long trailers, you got a 10, 15-foot trailer behind it, you're gonna have a hard time making a 20-foot corner. It's just the way it is. But my question is, the spacing of these posts on the northwest, and I'm trying to visualize the northwest corner, what's preventing them from going down in the ditch on the north side total? You know, see what I'm saying? So, again, it's 20 feet, or is it 25 feet on the north side? Is that what it is?
20 here.
20 feet it would be the closest.
Okay.
So you've got that building in the purple
Yep.
proposed, and then the distance from the corner of that building
Yeah.
to the MnDOT right-of-way stake then is 20 feet. So that's
Okay.
going to be,
So again, hopefully this gets done right. Again, you gotta put post in there, and I'm talking, there's a definition of post. Is it a light post? Is it a cement post? I'm gonna leave that up to the, land services, but you look at that corner, and they're coming in, I'm even concerned that they're not gonna, even 25 feet is gonna be wide enough, but whatever. You get a trailer in there, cause that's what they're gonna come in there, they're gonna drop their stuff off, picking it up. But, yeah, again, I'll agree with Commissioner Blaine on that one. If they take the side of the shed out, then that would probably stop them. The minimum, what's to prevent him to put 4 little posts on just one little side so people can stick their neck out and come around? That's my biggest concern. They have to be along that whole corridor of the front of the west side, not only that, the north and the west side, see? So how could I would like something in there to say, okay, they're not gonna be allowed to go into that right away. See, so he can put 2 here, 2 there, they can stick their neck out and come around, see?
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
So the way the condition is written is that needs to be done, those need to be installed prior to permit issuance. So the intention there is that when we go to field check that permit, we're also gonna be checking to ensure that those have been installed. And it says at least 4. So what we'll be looking for when we go out there is, where were those 4, and do we need more?
Yep.
And so that'll be something that we will certainly review when we're out there prior to issuing the permit for construction.
And again, he did not come planned. He didn't come with it, in my opinion. And so this is something, if he puts the 4 out there before he does it, here I got him in, now, what would be the consequences that the land service would say, well, I've got the 4 in already, it says a minimum of 4, can you, the land service, what would the consequences be there?
Well, he would, so the way the condition is written, the purpose is to keep traffic out of the state highway right-of-way. If we find that we don't feel that what he's got there will keep traffic out of the right-of-way, he doesn't get a permit to build the structure.
And that's where it says minimum.
Yep.
It
Correct,
does
at
not say
least.
maximum, it says minimum.
Right.
Could say amount of poles as decided by the planning commission
Or
to
the land
prevent.
services,
Or, yeah.
Or land
I
services.
meant land services.
Or it could be prior to permit issuance, the property owner shall install or submit a plan for our approval.
Before he does it.
Yeah, so
That's what I would
we could do something like that also.
That would simply go to land services,
Yep.
and land
And
services
we'd look to
would
say,
be
yeah,
on it.
that's enough, that's
Or
not,
that's not enough, that's,
Yeah.
see, so that would be, because otherwise, yeah, I would like to have that part of the condition.
Commissioner Blaine?
So, thank you, Mr. Chair, and if you look at the map, thank you for bringing this up, Mr. LeBlanc. The picture on the screen in front of you there goes to the earlier question I had. There is a driveway around South Side.
that's how he routes traffic now.
Goes
It
around the south?
It goes one way. So when you look at that driveway entrance on the north,
Yeah?
that's how everybody moves. And you can see that, I believe there are garage doors on the south side.
It would look
So-
that way.
So people enter in on that north side, they head west and around, and the traffic moves one way. All traffic will go around, they come in that way and then go around that end. Because there was discussion about, people backing out and going out, and, he said that that's not how the traffic is
If he
routed
owns his
there.
property.
Does he own that property all to the south there?
No.
Oh, okay,
That's
that's why.
why.
Okay, that answers it.
That's why.
So the red line is not his property line?
No, that's the right of way.
Yeah,
That's MnDOT's right of way.
isn't that something? Right on.
Because those are two state highways, so they claim right of way on both. It's that corner that they modified because it was a lot wider.
So he could put an approach on the west side if he wanted to, I guess, but that.
I don't know that MnDOT
don't
will
think that-
allow
MnDOT-
him.
They won't
MnDOT's
give
not
them,
gonna-
they won't give them, access there, and you've got,
No.
you've got a lot of other infrastructure that runs, along 28 there,
Yep.
including both
Yes.
overhead and underground.
You just answered my question. Minnesota DOT will not do this. Well, that's
No.
what I said. I think, we need to do something here to prevent him, because if Minnesota, if the DOT comes down on him, then what's gonna happen? So I think we should eliminate the problem before.
Miss Amy?
Mr. Chair, in his original permit, MnDOT's requirement was that his access be off of 27.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
why that access is where it is.
I'm confident that if this is turned back over to Land Services with everything that's been stated here today, I am very confident that this will be arranged. If the owner of this thing says, you know what, I'm not gonna, this is where the posts need to be, and I'll put them there, and as Commissioner Blaine said, boom, I'm losing part of my shed, and I'm losing a little bit more of my shed, and by golly, I'm losing a whole corner of it. That really should not be this board's problem. That is the owner of that property's problem. We are pointing that prospected problem out to him. And Land Services has the direction to have a discussion regarding that conversation of that. How do you expect you're gonna turn around with a semi-tractor trailer rig there? I'm here to tell you, you're not. You're not gonna do that. That might just generate more thoughts, so I'm good with
All
that.
right, Mr. Chair,
I'm
I'll
good
agree
with
with
that.
you.
Further discussion, gentlemen?
So, Mr. Chair, do you want Amy to read the revised condition, ensure that the
Yeah.
commissioner would want to amend their motion in second?
Thank you for that.
All right, so I have a bunch of notes and I did not write out a one, so I'm gonna tell you what it's kinda gonna say.
Yep.
Prior to permit issuance, the property owner shall provide a barrier plan with utilizing at least 4-inch bollard-type posts. No, sorry. Shall install traffic control devices meeting MnDOT Manual of Uniform Traffic Control
Thank you.
Devices.
Very good.
For review and approval by the Land Services Department. And,
Before installation.
prior to installation and then prior to permit issuance, they'll be installed, something like that?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
So good on the amended motion?
On the amended I'm good on the amended language, but for clarification, we're also including the other 3 conditions as stated.
Yes. That's
Okay.
correct.
And Commissioner Lemire
Yep.
on the second, okay?
Gentlemen, further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Ms. Amy, great
All right.
discussion.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it from the board also.
That poor horse.
It's part of the job, and sometimes it kind of stinks, but that's part of the deal, and I appreciate it. Thank you very
No,
much.
thank you.
Do you have anything else for us today?
I do, I have 2 more things. The next one is to consider the conditional use permit request to expand to a Tier 2 beef feedlot. And this is through the construction of a 70 by 270 beef finishing barn. This request was from Kaiser Farms, and this was also recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 2 conditions. And those conditions are the property owner shall undertake necessary operational changes to comply with the open lot requirements. This shall be completed by the time the new barn is stocked, and the property owner shall arrange for the feedlot officer to evaluate the open lots to ensure compliance. And 2, a 50-foot wide grass buffer shall be planted and maintained around the new barn.
Look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve this.
I'll make a second for more discussion.
Okay, got a motion, we've got a second. Further discussion? Commissioner Wint?
Somebody else say something first.
I'll start then, Mr.
Please.
Chair. You know, I like this application, and I like the perspective that the owners are taking on this from an environmental perspective. They recognize an issue in how they're running their operation currently, and instead of trying to skirt around the issues, they're making a major investment to not only continue running their operation, but expand it. But to do that in an environmentally responsible way, and are very open to working not only with Soil and Water on this, and we had Soil and Water there with input at that Planning Commission meeting, but their openness to work with the county feedlot officer. This building will be a positive step forward in livestock production in Morrison County.
Thank you, Commissioner Blaine. Commissioner Wincher?
Yes, again, I'm for, pretty much everything. The only thing is, I would like to add a condition, and I believe the applicant is here, is that right now, he's currently not in compliance because of this feedlot, which is, that blank happens, so. But I just wanna make sure that moving forward, that before he adds any additional animal units, that he becomes compliant. See what I'm saying? So he can build his shed and all that, but, because otherwise he's going up from X amount of units to up to 600. I think that's important for the land services, again, to make sure he comes back into compliance before he starts adding additional, and maybe you can help me with that one, Amy?
Mr. Chair?
Please.
So if we look at condition 1, the second line, what it says now is this shall be completed by the time the new barn is stocked. Would you like to change that to this shall be completed before the new barn is stocked?
Yes.
Okay.
And I say, he's got, some challenges there now, and this is gonna bring him back in compliance, but that's why I'm bringing that up.
Okay.
Further discussion? I'm not hearing any further discussion, so I'll ask, what really does that mean versus what it says? This shall be completed by the time the new barn is stocked, I understand that, versus,
Mr. Chair, my
Please.
understanding is that he achieved compliance before adding any additional animal units.
so are we talking about changing the current footprint operation that he has right now, making that up to specs?
It would be reducing the animal
We're just
numbers
talking
in
animal
those
units?
lots.
Okay.
So he would be compliant, because right now, the reason why the lots are non-compliant is he's got too many animals in there.
So I'm going to be very bold, and I'm going to look upon the applicant, because the applicant is here today, and doesn't need to come forward. I would just simply look for a head nod if that makes sense to you.
So, not really. So do I have to just continue my operation with lower units now? Or can I just keep everything the same, and when I get the new barn built, stock it, and then not use the outside lots, decrease the numbers in the outside lots to make it compliant?
And my point, that was what, because Soil and Water was at the meeting too, and what they were saying, because you have too many animal units in these lots right now. So once you get your property up there, you're not gonna be able to add more units until you space these animals out to make it compliant. See what I'm saying? Maybe you don't quite understand it. You got 5 animal units now in a lot, just using that example. You probably have to reduce, you have the capability to reduce it to 3, and then you take those other 2 and put them to the next one.
So that's after the barn is built.
Right, yep. You know, I just wanted, because I want them to come out there and say, yep, you're currently in compliance with the current animal units you have, because you should, pardon? Pardon?
I don't plan on adding any.
You're right, and I remember you saying that, but again, this is just putting you at, and then, because my point would be, Mr. Chair, he could add to more units if we approved this, he could go up to 600 animal units.
Right now, once it's
approved. see?
But that says no.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and
Please.
Commissioner Wincher, the applicant was there seeking a CUP with the idea to expand to a Tier 2, but after, or by doing that, he's doing that through constructing this building. A 70 by 270 foot finishing barn is a significant building, and that's a significant investment, and with underground storage of underground manure storage. I'm confident that and I'm not only confident, I agree with this action, and that eliminates that issue of compliance with his current feedlot. Once this building is built, there won't be those animals in the outside lots with the issue that they have, and that's why they came to the county to say, here's our plan for the future, and we're willing to make the investment to be compliant and to run our business going forward.
But at this point in time, I'm certainly not going to ask the applicant to reduce what he currently has. And as long as he doesn't have to, as long as he can keep his operation operating the way it's operating today, build the new barn, and by golly, at that point in time, I can't remember the number of animal units whatever that means for numbers, he can at that point increase to up to the limit.
Correct.
Thank you, to 650 animal units. But up until then, his operation can stay the same as it is, without any issues, construct his new facility, and then move forward from there.
Correct.
I appreciate that I have no issues with it. Further comments, further questions?
I believe that the current language should satisfy your concern.
This shall be completed by the time the new barn is stocked, and the property owner shall arrange for the feedlot officer to evaluate the open lots to ensure compliance. Quite honestly, so do I. That's in all respect. So do I.
I believe that takes care of
Again,
your
I just want to
concerns.
clarify, I want them back in compliance, and so does soil, water, land services.
And
all
And
of
so
he's
do
gonna
they.
be.
And so do they.
Mr. Chair, can I, just to clarify, I have no intention of stocking those outside pens once the new facility is built. I mean, feeding, with the amount of cattle in there and everything.
Yep.
I don't have no, that was the whole point.
That's all gonna be under one roof when this thing is complete. Absolutely. Absolutely.
As long as I'm gonna fill the barn and then plus those lots and still be out of compliance.
Yeah, the other lots are gonna be used for exactly what you talked about using them. That's once the building is done. I'm very clear on
So
that.
based on what you're saying here, Amy, he will be in compliance once he puts this building up and moves all his animals under this, correct?
That is correct.
And that's what this means.
Correct.
Okay, then we'll leave it alone.
That's fair enough. And I guess I need to address the board, and I need to tell everybody at the board, I know this property very well. I grew up right next to this property. I grew up with the family. They're phenomenal operators. They have been for years. you know, everybody has seen the pictures and the outlay of how this thing is gonna lay out. There is not a question in my mind, at the end of the day, as far as a grass buffer, and there's grass buffers all over the place on this property, there is no doubt this is gonna be run properly. I know the neighborhood very well. As we heard from the planning commission, there were a few individuals that know the property also. As far as manure storage, as far as the dispensing of manure stinks. That's just the way it works, folks. But there is no doubt in my mind that they operate to get the full bang for the buck, that they're gonna spread this, they're gonna apply it to the soil the proper way. There's just not a question in my mind. That's all I have to say to the board, but I needed to address the board.
So, Mr. Chair, one of the other things I'll say about this too is, you know, there's a lot of this same type of activity going on in the county. And there's been a lot of transition from past dairy farms to beef feedlots and Holstein steer rearing facilities and that. One of the things I'm excited about is the fact that we're seeing a younger producer make an investment, a significant investment in their business to do things what I view as the right way, in a very environmentally responsible way. I hope that, and I believe that others throughout the county will look at this facility in the future, and hoping the owners will be open to sharing that facility with others out there, because I think this is a huge step in the right direction on rearing cattle, for a number of different reasons. But I also certainly recognize the fiscal investment to do this, and this is a long-term business decision. This isn't, you know, I'm going to go buy a case of beer. So,
Commissioner Blaine, thank you. Anyone else have any comments, concerns? I wanted to thank the board. I want to thank Amy, and I certainly want to thank Chris and his mother for being here this morning to answer anything that this board had. So I will ask again. Board have any questions, concerns regarding this?
Mr. Chair, so you're considering the
Yes.
motion and the second based on the conditions that are presented before you?
That is correct. Okay. I'll ask the board one more time if they have anything further. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much.
Right.
Wonderful discussion, and I truly mean that. This is how government is supposed to operate. Wonderful discussion. Thank you all for that. Miss Amy, do you have anything further?
One more thing.
One more thing.
One
There's
more
always
thing.
one more thing.
Yeah. Yep, Brian's gonna join me for this one. So this last item that I have for you goes back to a planning session discussion we had, oh gosh, maybe about a month or two ago regarding some properties, flooded, abandoned properties on Lake Chaminade. We have been working with some of those property owners, and I'm very happy to say that some of those are taking care of themselves. But we do have this one that is outstanding with a property owner that is not responding. So we are at the point where we are asking the county board to sign the order of hazardous building removal. And that will be served upon this property owner, and that will start the process of addressing this issue. And that is being done in concert with the county attorney's office, so that's why I've got Brian here too. I believe the order was in your packet, but that's my last item I have for you, Mr. Chair.
I just have to be very bold. Go ahead, Brian. Thank you.
Do we have a copy of the order in the?
There should be,
Right there?
yeah, right there.
Yes, that's what we'd be asking the board to adopt this morning. The proposed order, we would, if the board adopts it, we would serve it on the property owners. That would start the process going forward. They would have an opportunity to contest the order if they so choose. If If not, then we could simply move forward, get a court order to clean up the property.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt the order.
Okay, got a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
We've got a motion, we've got a second for this, and I need to explain what, sorry, I'm kind of drawing a blank. To explain what we're talking about. It's a removal of property that's flooded. Help me out.
It's addressing a property that's been flooded and that is not habitable and is deteriorating and in need of removal essentially because of the condition of the property. And so we have reached out to the property owner several times regarding hopefully to address this, but haven't had any response. There is provision within state statute that allows the county to address buildings that are deemed hazardous. And so this is one of those steps laid out within that statute for compelling the property owner to address the issue, and if they don't, then the county can.
I think that it's fair for the record that we pick out a few key words out of the first paragraph. Dilapidated, physically damaged, unsanitary, abandoned, and/or a fire hazard, unsuitable for safe use, and immense mold, and other orders that go along with that. I think that's important to understand that that's what we're doing here.
Correct.
This is a public safety issue as much as it is anything else. And for those that have had flooded property up on that in particular body of water, I get it. This is how things move. It takes a long time. It's not as if this board or the residents of that lake property area don't know that this hasn't happened or that this thing hasn't been there for a very long time. But that ball slowly moves in, call it government, I don't care what it is, but this is just how it takes time to get this stuff done.
And there are some photos attached to the order as well.
Right.
Shows the condition of the property.
Absolutely. Commissioner Wincher?
Yeah, again, you said you sent out notices, how many, 1, 2, 10, whatever. How do we know that they're receiving these notices? And then what's the process? Do we send them 1, do we give them 5, 10? And then with this one too, if the board approves this, then, I'm assuming they're gonna have something in their hand eventually that says, hey, this is coming forward. But do we have proof that they received the past notices?
Well, unfortunately, I believe these particular property owners have been non-responsive. Amy's office has sent out quite a few notices to them by US mail, to the address that they have on record. And there has been no response, which is unusual. Other property owners in a similar situation have responded, and we've been working with them, but these folks have not, and so that really limits our options and brings us here today.
So, and this order would be served in person on them.
Okay.
So we would know
Okay.
they will receive this.
Do we know if they're delinquent on their current taxes?
They are not delinquent.
That was my question, Mr. Chair.
Very good. At the end of the day, this board says, yep, move forward with this, and nothing happens, and we need to move forward. The next step would be that, I'm to assume, and please, I'm just assuming, that the next step's gonna be removal of this property.
Correct.
And hopefully that's down the line, and hopefully we're not gonna even cross that bridge. What happens then? Or is it too early to even have that conversation? And what I mean by what happens then, what kind of money are we talking about, and where does that money come from?
Yes, so when we first started discussing this, I did get a quote so we understood what kind of money we'd be looking at. For this particular property, the quote was $30,000 to do that. So, and what's nice is the statute really lazy. This is just a very step-by-step process. So the first step is you signing the order. The next step is it being served on the property owner. The next step is the property owner availing themselves of their rights to appeal, or give us permission to remove, or to take care of it themselves. And if they don't, then the next step is that we solicit a contractor for removal. We pay for that. We present them with the bill. They have an opportunity to pay it. If they don't, we put a lien on the property. And that's just, and it's just very methodical that way. And it's laid out in statute.
Kind of nice.
It is,
I
it
like
is.
that piece.
It's very
That's a great
nice.
explanation. Thank you for that. All right. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yes, question for Brian. So it's not in the legal realm to place a lien on if they have a home somewhere else against this property?
It would only be on this property.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Gentlemen, we have a motion, we have a second, we have had discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A lot of stuff today, Ms. Amy, so
know,
thank you
right?
for that. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, we're going to move on from Land Services. We're going to move to Health and Human Services for a report. I know Nathan's here today and Katie's here with us, and I believe we're going to talk about some adoption stuff. So if you folks would introduce yourselves, let us know what you're here for, and carry on.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nathan Bertram, Health and Human Services Director.
Good morning, Katie Canetto, Child Protection Supervisor.
Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We're here to talk about adoption this morning.
Fantastic.
I'll keep it brief. I know you guys have a deadline this morning, so. So just to refresh your memory, I started out with the definition of a state ward. So a state ward is a minor child who is free for adoption after their parents' rights have been terminated. And so I have kind of a graph of the last several years. You can kind of see we have a downward trend of the number of youth who have been state wards, and there's a variety of reasons for that. Previously, the state identified adoption as the preferred method for permanency, so that when kids could not reunify with their parents, they said, you know, the best thing for them is to be adopted by somebody else. Now the state says, well, that could be an option, or if there's a family member who is willing to accept a transfer of custody, that's equally preferred. So they're kind of on the same playing field now. When custody is transferred, though, they never become a ward, because the custody goes immediately from the parent to the new caregiver. So that would explain why some of our numbers have gone down since we're doing more transfer of custodies. Also, we are completing our adoptions more timely. Our partners at the state have been more prompt with that over the last couple of years, which has really helped in kind of reducing how long kids are sitting as state wards. So the next graph just shows a picture of, you know, the breakdown of, so those 22 kids that were wards this year. As you can see, the majority of those have been adopted. We've got a few that are newer cases, or they're newer to being a state ward. They're in their pre-adoptive homes. We only have, and then of course we did have a few that aged out this year. So what that means is they turned 18 before they were able to be adopted. And then we do have just 3 of them that we haven't been able to find permanency homes for. A couple of them have had prior failed pre-adoptive placements, meaning they've maybe moved with a family, it hasn't worked out, and they've had to leave that home. Unfortunately, for those 3 that aren't matched up, they've spent a lot of time in foster care. 166 months is the total. We have 1 youth who last month had a 10th anniversary in foster care. Certainly those are things we want to avoid, which is why we are making, I think the state is looking at some of those efforts earlier on to transfer custody perhaps and things like that. That may be more successful for some of these youth that can't be returned home. On a positive note, our trend is, like I said, going down as far as the length of time that youth are remaining on an adoption caseload. So as you can see, there was only 2 kids really that did not have their adoptions achieved in a year's time last year. The majority is between 4 and 6 months, and we even had a couple kids that we did in under 3. So trying to keep things moving along, understanding the importance of that for children. And then the last slide here is just talking about who is adopting. I think I talked previously, maybe at an earlier meeting this month when we did the proclamation about foster parents and the importance of them and the role that they play, not only when we're looking for permanency home, but all the way along in the continuum when kids are initially placed into foster care or even needing respite. We certainly have a shortage of foster homes. We're not different than really any of our surrounding counties. We really rely heavily on relatives, and you can see here that relative adoptions make up about half of the kids that we have as wards. And so without them, we would really be struggling. And so we make every effort to locate relatives, and right, that makes sense. That's where kids are comfortable if they can be with people that they know and trust and have a relationship with. So we kind of spend a lot of effort looking for relatives right out of the gates. Some families don't have relatives that are able or willing to take on kids, but certainly it offsets our need for foster homes, but I'll still put my plug in that we are always in need of more foster parents. Mr. Chair, any
Excellent.
questions?
Thank you. You're very good at this, you know, and you are. It just flows, and I thank you. I'm going to just start it off with actually making a statement. And I saw very clearly a couple slides ago that there was 12 individuals that were adopted, and we still have some others pending and whatnot. I just want to make it very clear that those others, not counting the 12 that have been adopted, are certainly being cared for.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are being cared for. They are in foster homes. They are in foster homes. They're in foster homes and foster care, and certainly are being cared for as we would all anticipate they should be. 12 have left foster care and have been adopted. That I just want to make that distinct difference there.
Yes, correct. Those 12 have found their forever families who have committed to them. The others are, of course, being well cared for, but we know that kids thrive best when they have
Without a
those
question.
permanent connections.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's wonderful. Look to the board. Comments? This is not a motion thing or anything like that. This is a quick discussion, if we will. Commissioner Casper.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Katie, thank you. We can see your heart for these folks. I tell you what, these little ones need people like you that care, and your love shows through. These little ones are precious in God's sight. We thank the Lord for your being there. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Katie.
Further comments from the board?
Thank you, Katie. Nice seeing you.
Yes.
Thanks, Nate.
Excellent. Good job. Thank you both.
I have one other house
One
cleaning
more
matter
thing.
quick. We did have a resignation from the child protection team on Katie's team there. It's an existing position, and we just look for the head nod to get that posted and moving forward to replace that.
I'm good with it, Mr. Chair.
Let's rock and roll.
All right, thank you much.
Thank you.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you very, very kindly. Yes? Okay, we better, okay?
I'm just letting you know.
Yep. Very good. Thank you. Gloria, please, come forward.
No, I need one too.
Yeah.
I gotta keep going. 'Cause I want to get as much in as I can.
How are you today?
I am not too bad. How are you?
You know, I'm wonderful. Thank you very much, Gloria. You don't get to come to see us very often.
No, I don't, and that's intentional.
And I know that's not your first order of business, but that being said, you are with us today, so please introduce yourself if you would, and why are you here?
I'm Gloria Austin. I'm the administrative specialist in the Extension Office, and I'm here to present our report from August to October of this year.
Please, fire away.
I just wanted to point out that we are going to be having a fair amount of ag programming in the county this fall. They just had one on Friday night for a land rent workshop. They're going to be having a managing market risk on December 5th at the Initiative Foundation. And then starting in February, we'll be holding Annie's Project here in Morrison County, and that is geared towards women in ag.
Absolutely.
This is the time of year for a lot of classroom-type programming. The Master Gardeners are planning a horticulture workshop in April, so and then 4-H, of course, always has ongoing programming.
Sure, sure.
Other than
Excellent.
that,
Well, I'll tell you what, we're not going to put you on the spot, and I know you'd rather not be put on the spot, but I am going to ask the board for any comments, questions, concerns we'd like to address today.
I'll just say thank you to Gloria for the work that she does in the Extension Office, that so many of us, it goes under the radar, but it doesn't go unappreciated. So, thank you.
That's you, Gloria. Thank you for what you do, and I know that we don't get a chance to do that very often because you don't get to come here very often. But I will tell you this, thank you for coming here today. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Happy Thanksgiving.
you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria.
And Mr. Chair, Gloria might have been compelled to come here today, and I've asked her to come back at least once a year to spend time with the board. So
And
thank
you can
Gloria.
come back anytime, but certainly at least once a year. Thank you, Matt. All right, we'll move along from that. We're going to go to the administrator's report. Matt?
All right, Mr. Chair, thank you. And so it's that time of year where I say, can you believe a year's gone by? In 8 days from now, I'll hit my second year with Morrison County and look forward to continuing to provide these updates to the county board. So I asked some of our others from our administrative department to be here today for this. As I give you my annual report, know that this isn't me, this is a contribution of all of our leaders as well as the efforts of our staff across the county and administration. So we tried to put something together here to give a roll-up for the board. I guess it starts off with a really neat picture taken by one of our employees out of the attorney's office. I say the sun shines every day in Morrison County, and this proves too that sometimes we have rainbows over our historic courthouse. Today, we're going to talk about our administration department. And this here, what you see is our organizational chart. This is how we're arranged, and again, the county's made up of 11 departments and 340 employees. As the administrator, I'm charged with being the director of administration as well. Highlighted is License Bureau alignment. That was one piece that we aligned, the board approved alignment this past year, and that's where we'll be targeting today's discussion. I laid over time here some of the highlighted events over 2023. I'll just talk about 3 of them, but I really appreciate the board's involvement in approving really our strategic plan. And that happened earlier in 23. My testament was that it would stay off the shelf. I can attest that it has, and that I do continue to discuss this with our line of effort leads. And you'll hear about it again in first quarter as we continue to refer back to our strategic plan. Had a new commissioner join the board, and although by now it doesn't maybe even seem that way, but it was a great staff effort. Welcoming Commissioner Casper to the Morrison County Board. That was a department, all departments, that was a county-wide effort and a very deliberate effort to help bring Commissioner Casper up to speed. This train is rolling, it's rolling fast, and I appreciate the staff's efforts welcoming on a new member of our team.
And I'd say thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. But the thanks goes to all of them that helped make that happen, and hopefully we continue to. And the last item, I'll go all the way to the other side of the scale, which is scheduled for next week, and that's our resiliency training. Without the support of the board, we wouldn't have been able to get after something that's been asked about by the staff. We conducted one of these sessions in September, and it's really to improve the staff resiliency and ideally reduce stress. We're doing it again next week. I met with our presenter yesterday. He came to visit, and he's really excited to come here. So if you're available November 30th, I'd welcome you to attend, but I just truly appreciate the board's support in that effort as we try to watch our staff wellness and health and improve it. I'll continue on. So what you see here is a couple of snapshots, anecdotal type representation of transition. One of the key pieces that we do in administration is we keep the staff staffed. We help facilitate the transition process as employees exit the county and employees enter the county. So I'm just going to hit just a couple really neat points to me. As you read this chart, the first column in 2021, you see 45. That's the number of people that left their position. So you'll find that number by adding 31, 12, and 2. So that's how you'll get there. But I'm gonna just key in on a few numbers. So we had 45 leave their position in 21, 41 in 22, and 33 in 23. That's a neat trend. Less people are leaving their post or their job position, at least over the last 3 years. And if I can really zoom in on 2023, of the 33 that left their job, 25 of them went to another job within the county. So they didn't leave the organization. That piece of data is missing from 21, but you can see from 22 to 23, it increased the number of people that stayed. So that's an indicator to me that the environment and their overall appreciative of what the county does, they might have just been looking to do something different within the organization. So that, and then you'll see the green numbers, right? So that doesn't equal 45, doesn't equal 48, and the like. That's accounted for primarily on our part-time and our seasonal, as well as if we do a hiring action, if we post in 23 but hire in, or if we post in 22 and hire in 23, it would throw that off too. So there, you're not going to see those numbers equal out. Key transition, I've mentioned this before, I'll say it again. We had 5 of our senior leaders transition over the last 2 years. I would argue that that we're getting back up to speed. We're firing on all cylinders, and I'm very appreciative to the leaders that the county's brought in to replace some true giants and walking in their shadows. They left us in good shape, but our replacements are doing wonderful. Indicator on retirements, you see that, you know, we had years of service there. That's the tall graph. What you see is, it's a little bit tough to read, but 21, 22, and 23 had 12, 10, and 5 retirees. So there's less, but really that's just about retirement. But the time served within the county, 30 years, 25, 29 years. So our folks that are retiring on average of about 30 years with the county over their tenure. This is something new you probably haven't seen. I know I've discussed that we're working on our surveys and working on our data from our surveys. What this should indicate to you, or what this is our new hire survey that goes out. And there's a list of questions, and Melissa, I believe, was the one who was the architect behind the survey. But what this tells me is you've got 48 people that took this survey, and in these areas of whether there's adequate time for admin training, whether there's quality IT training, whether my coworkers seem supportive, initial impression, and my superiors or supervisors support my development, it's either agree or strongly agree, with the one exception that says does not apply to me. So that's telling me that our first impression, our initial impression with our new employees is stepping us off on the right foot. And I appreciate that by those that help welcome in our new employees on a peer level, as well as the supervisors. Employee recognition, I could probably just skip this slide after this morning, but it's wonderful. I appreciate the board's support. I appreciate our Awards of Excellence program and our Years of Service program. And as often as we can talk about our employees, as I mentioned this morning, the heart and soul of the organization, I appreciate the board allowing me that opportunity and taking that time to recognize our employees. On our facilities and maintenance side, our campus improvement, pretty neat stuff here. I had John kind of give me his top 10 list. I'll highlight the first 4. So again, an effort that's been talked about for well over a year and a half, and a lot of studying on it. But the automatic doors and license bureau that assists with the ADA type access are installed and operating. We improved our signage as we continue to try to support our customers and residents as they navigate the campus here. A couple examples in the lower left there. Our seal coating and striping of our main parking lot, you know, that's just taking care of the footprint. And John and his team and staying up on that allows us to keep it functioning. And the last one is the rock. We talked about that a while back, but they replaced that mulch with rock. This is a more enduring solution. and one that's not a fire hazard here for the county. But John and our facilities team have done a remarkable job. You all hear the comments about our footprint and how nice it looks, and they take pride in it, and I'm appreciative of that. As I talk about License Bureau, our newest addition to administration, you know, I would say, what haven't they done? If I go on the bottom right, I mean, from our Award of Excellence selectees, that again, a committee that's not me choose. So that's the quality of staff. They brought on new staff over the past year. They conducted ALICE training, which is active shooter type training, which helped them improve their environment. We appointed a deputy registrar, and we're moving toward implementing our NEMO-Q ticketing system. All that to be said, another highlight from 2023 was the legislation that ultimately makes License Bureau a fully funded or nearly fully funded program within the county due to the changes in licensing fees. And you know, I can't hold it back now. My right hand, Beth and I, we spend a lot of time talking about policy maturity and procedure enhancement. Really, that's kind of the, you know, what grounds an organization of this size. Very proud to say that, you know, great organizations do routine things routinely. It might not sound like much, but a safety committee. It's one of those things that normally falls off because it's not important until it's important. But those efforts are happening. The strategic plan execution that I mentioned earlier, we have automated our employee transition process. We've cut down that transition time, and we've kept other leaders and departments informed of that process to make us better in that way. And I think I've highlighted to the board, you know, we routinely sit at less than 1% vacancy rate, and there was a period of time where we had all positions filled in the county in 2023. So I attest and give a lot of that credit to Beth and her coaching of me, as truly I'm still learning and do learn every day. Underway, again, grateful to the board to approve a comp and class study. That is something we have our kickoff meeting with our employees today where they'll hear from our vendor. Expense management, using Paycom, not to its fullest capability, but one more step toward that direction. Paycom's capable of that, so we're working with our auditor treasurer office and to allow Paycom to work our expense management. And then we'll always be keeping a close eye on talent management as we attempt to groom our own and make the best out of each of us. And the last, I think it's my last on this presentation, the chart that will be gone one day when the pie is completely filled, but at least the main object here. But Kurt and his work as our CFO, you know, reminds us where we're at with ARPA. 2.97 spent of the 6.48. What's circled in red is complete, and what is encircled in green is ongoing. And then you see some items that are earmarked. This does not fly on its own. This project is being led by Kurt, from the reporting to the tracking and the proper procedures to commit those funds. And I appreciate his efforts there. As we've been talking over the last few months, again, our budget is set at 2%. Our levy is set at 2% lower than it was last year, with using 40% less fund balance. So that's a remarkable job by our department heads being fiscally responsible and scrutinizing their budgets into 2024. New construction, as mentioned last time on our tax capacity, we believe will pay 1.08% of that levy. Kurt continues to work on our capital asset management, and that's just taking care of our stuff and maintaining accountability of it, and the right program for it. He's looking at budget software options to again move us along as we progress in the budgeting for the county. And gentlemen, that concludes my annual report. Pending any questions, I have one other piece of information to share with you today.
I'm going to look to the board, but before I look to the board, I'm going to look to our administrator, and I am going to say, phenomenal. What a report. Thank you very much.
It's them, Mr. Chair.
And then I will turn it over to the board. Thank you all very much.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
you said something on November 30th? that we can attend?
Yes, that is going to be Cowboy Dave Faust, resiliency training. There's a session, there's a morning and an afternoon session. The morning session starts at 8:30, and the afternoon session starts at 1. It is a 2.5-hour session on stress and stress management. Those
need
two
that.
sessions are the same, so one or the other, or you can go through both, but there'll be a repeat.
Comments from the board?
I have one more question,
Yep,
then I'll be done.
fire away.
On the staff transition page, and you mentioned this, but I'd like clarification. It says that we had 45 people leave, right, in '21?
Correct.
48 new?
Right.
Does that mean we had no?
No, those would be the seasonal, part-time or seasonal, or if there was a delayed hiring action where they applied in 20, but they were hired in 21. But there was, that is not indication of new positions created. There was not 3 new positions.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Again, turn to the board, comments?
I'll say, on that screen that's up there in that department head transition, I know this person is a department head, but I also look at our CFO could be easily added under that list there as a tremendous hire or replacement for an individual who served the county for 30-plus years there too. And Mr. Chair, I have great appreciation for our administrator, not only this report, but on his day-to-day management of this organization and leadership there, and willingness to be open and available to all of us at every time. But I also have a great appreciation for our CFO, and I don't get the opportunity to share that. And I'm going to take that opportunity now, because I think Kurt does a lot of silent work out there that makes us look really good. And I appreciate his fiscal management and his help for all of us, Mr. Chair.
Kudos. Further discussion from the board?
Nice report, Matt.
Commissioner Casper?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to thank Matt. He just does an incredible job, and the rest of all the department heads, you folks you all make Matt look good, and he makes you look good. You guys are like a New Holland Baylor, tying every knot. We have much to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. Thank you all.
All right, hearing nothing further from the board, I'm going to turn it back to Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. And the best thing I can do is stay out of their way sometimes, probably most of the time. My only other item is received a mailing from the Northland Reliability Project. Again, that is referring to the double circuit 345 kV transmission line. That's primarily going through Commissioner Casper's district. If you'd like to see it, Commissioner, or anybody else, but I'll spare you reading it. It was just an update on where they're at on the project. But I do appreciate North End Reliability keeping us informed.
Excellent, thank you for that. Anything further?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Anything further from the board?
I would suggest that you let Mr. Lemire go for his, committee report.
You want to do the committee report? You want to start committee reports, Commissioner Lemire? All right,
Gonna have as many radio on for you.
let's go, come on.
26?
Starting on the 26th, going through the 16th of December.
16th? Okay.
Yep.
28th, planning session, 8:30. 28th, PC BOA, 6 o'clock, boardroom. 29th, HRA, 9 o'clock at HRA. Public health on the 29th, 5 o'clock in the boardroom. The 1st, Public Works, 8:30 at Public Works. The 5th, we have no meeting on the 5th.
Nope.
I have Extension Committee meeting at the Initiative Foundation. I don't know what that is, but.
We have no
it's 10
meeting on
o'clock.
the 5th?
No.
She mentioned it today when she was talking about the meetings that are coming up. That flyer that's in the group.
Yeah, I got that flyer. It's about reducing market risks. I don't know what got on my calendar, but maybe I'll go to that. 7th,
7?
we have a board meeting, 9 o'clock.
Yep.
7th, yep.
Yep,
We have a fee schedule public hearing at 6 o'clock.
yep.
And truth and taxation hearing at 6:15.
Or the whole thing is at 6, but you're right. There's
Yeah,
two separate things.
That's what I got on my
Yep.
calendar. And that's all I got. No, got another week.
Yeah.
11th, Yellow Ribbon Committee, 3:30. Tuesday, the 12th, planning session, 8:30. Boardroom BC BOA meeting, at 6 o'clock. The 13th, there's a department head meeting at 8:30, boardroom. That's it.
Excellent. And I will take off from there on the 26th of November, 11 o'clock in the morning. The chaplaincy is having, the local Morrison County Chaplaincy Program is having their annual pizza party at the VFW, starting at 11 o'clock. On the 30th at 8, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the session being repeated at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a stress workshop, that's what I called it anyway, and that's good, 8:30. It's either 8:30 or 1 o'clock, and that's here in the boardroom. I have no idea if I can attend that, but it's scheduled for here. Okay, on the 4th, 5th, 6th, excuse me, 4th, 5th, 6th of December is the AMC Annual Conference. On the 7th at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a SECB Legislative Committee meeting. On the 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board RAC meeting. On the 14th, 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board Next Generation 911 meeting, and that's all I have. Commissioner Wincher?
All right, for the November TCC was postponed, so that's gonna be, I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna be down at this St. Paul at the AMC Extension meeting, that's at 7 o'clock, just that, so I gotta attend that.
What day?
On the 4th of December, I'll be down at the AMC.
Okay,
So you won't go to TCC?
that's where TCC will be.
TCC is canceled.
Okay.
For the month of November, okay? So, yeah, I'm gonna bring that back in, I'll bring it back in 180 degree here.
Okay.
AMC Extension, I'll be down in the cities. I'll be at the township at Bellevue at 7 o'clock on the Wednesday the 6th. TCC now is, the meeting is on the 7th at 5:30. Again, there'll be a conflict, because I'll be here at the Truth and Taxation at 6 o'clock. So, but again, just to let you know, TCC's it. Anybody cares, I'm gonna be down in St. Michael, Albertville at Peekaboo Boo's. I'm gonna be dressed up as the Grinch, so just do that one, so.
Thank you for adding anybody that cares.
There we go. And then, moving all that, on the 15th, Soil and Water. That was not moved up, so that's 8 AM.
That's it for you,
Yep.
Commissioner? Commissioner Blaine, starting on the 26th of November.
I think everything's been taken care of, but I have to clarify now, on the 7th is the county board meeting?
7th of December at 9 o'clock in the morning, county board meets. That's something that happens once a year due to the AMC annual conference.
And Mr. Chair, I will be absent from that meeting as the 5th, 6th, and 7th. I will be at Great River Energy, and I can't be in two places at one time.
Okay?
The other question I have is, and this may be looking too far ahead into the schedule, but will we have a planning session on the 26th of December? That's the Tuesday after, the day after Christmas Day. Knowing.
Will not.
We will not?
We will not.
But we will have a county board meeting on Friday, the 29th.
We will.
Okay. So just, I want to make sure that in plans going forward.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Casper, starting on November 26th.
Yeah, I think you guys have aced me. Was Friday the 1st, the Public Works planning, that is, did someone?
Friday, the 1st of
Yes,
December?
yes.
Public Works, yep.
Yeah, Public Works.
That's correct.
And the only thing I have is, and I'll let Tabitha know, the 29th of December, jumping way out there, I may not be available for that meeting. I may be in Wisconsin for a seminar, but I need to double check that date.
You have anything further?
And I'm complete, thank you.
Okay. Do we have anything that needs to come before this board? Gentlemen, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. It's 11:19.
Good thing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
A lot of good discussion today.